Hello. I had a comment in my video giving a suggestion about what to do in the situation that you end up taking the catch in a try-catch structure. And specifically it was to use the exception and to print the trace stack. So what I'm going to do is make a quick video to show how you might use that exception object and do something with it. For those of you in my grade 12 class, this is a really nice learning point in terms of what we're heading into, because we're currently talking about classes and objects. And the first thing you'll notice if I scroll down here, in this example here, is that file not found is an object. So what's happening is when the catch structure actually executes, an object is created, specifically a file not found object. So remember, objects have attributes and behaviors, and so we can take advantage of those attributes and behaviors and do something with them. So the comment was actually on my video that talked about how to write to files, but I'm going to actually use an example of how to read files because that's easier to generate the exception. So right now we generate a string called text, and then we invoke the read string method, which takes as a parameter a string which represents the file name, and then we print out the text after. So I'm sending it in.txt, and if I look in this file, there's the contents of in.txt. So if I run this, it prints out the contents of the string. Pretty straightforward. So the way this method is designed, if I come down here to read string, what it does is we create a scanner and we say wow has next line. We basically keep tacking on to this variable called text the additional line, and once we've generated that by constructing the string, at the very end we return it. So the reason why we've put this section in a try-catch structure is because this line here can generate an exception that we need to account for. So if it throws an exception, we need to catch it and handle it. The specific exception to get thrown is a file not found exception. So in my previous videos, what I said is I always encourage you just to put something in here, system.out.println file not found, or some sort of line of code, so that if something does go wrong, you actually get a prompt. Because nothing's worse than if that's empty, something goes wrong, and then you don't realize where the error is happening. But we're going to actually make use of this exception object that's generated here. So if we want to kind of figure out what we can do with it, if you're in Eclipse, it's nice because I can hit E, which is the name of the object, put dot, and it will show me all the different fields and all the different behaviors and attributes that I can do with this. So we're not going to do anything quite yet. All I'm going to do is I'm going to erase that printout. Really important that I get in the habit that I see this and I say, okay, I know that's a class because it's capitalized. I come down to the internet and I do a Google search for it, and I find the file not found exception class. I will point out that yes, there are things called interfaces and they are not capitalized, but generally in my high school computer science class I always say a nice clue is that if you see something's capitalized, it's probably a class. So if we scroll down here, we can see the constructor summary, and we can see the method summary. So there's no actual methods inside this specific class, but if we scroll up here, we can see the hierarchy of this class. So a file not found object is an IO object. An IO object is an exception is a throwable is an object. This is the hierarchy of it. So file not found exception inherits all of the methods from subsequent superclasses. So it will get every method that object, throwable, exception, IO exception has, as well as custom methods that it might have. And like I said, there's no custom methods. The documentation will tell us that where the methods are inherited from. So these are the methods it has that are inheritable from throwable, and these are the methods that it has that are inheritable from object. Inherited from object. So we can do a variety of things depending on what you want to do. A couple common things you might do is you might go e.print stack trace. So what this does is it essentially prints out a trace of the stack, and you can kind of follow what's happened and gone wrong. Now remember, if I run this right now, I'm sending it a valid file, so I get a valid response. So come up here, let's change this string to a file that doesn't exist. This is not a file. So obviously now, when I invoke read string, it's going to try and access this file that doesn't exist. You can see it's not here. And I'll refresh it just to be sure. It's not there. So when I run this now, there's my stack trace. So it tells me, it gives me all sorts of information specifically about that exception. It tells me what line it was happened on. It tells me what the exception is. Really useful thing to include to account and handle and see what's going on. There's a bunch of different things you can do, and of course this video can't go through them all. Another one that might be useful is you might do something like, instead of writing a system.out.println, line, which is your own method, turns out there is a get message. So let's see what this does. This is not a file. So this is a message that's generated by that exception. So this is not a file. The system cannot find the file specified. So basically it's telling you via a message what's going on. A little less useful. Let's see what else is there. So there's all sorts of stuff in here. So the point I'm trying to make here, and the bigger idea, is that it's important to recognize that this is an object. And like all objects, it has both attributes and behaviors. So if you do happen to enter the catch structure, you can take advantage of those attributes and behaviors and customize the response that happens if that catch structure is entered. I hope this video helped.